Hei, hjemmegruppe! Jeg skal lage en liten film, sånn gjennomgang av temaet for dere. Jeg skal også gå gjennom PowerPointen, så det er viktig nå at dere leser nøye, der hvor det står «les dette nøye», og så kan dere gå videre og jobbe. Dere vil se at jeg har delt dere inn i arbeidsgrupper i engelsk og samfunnsfag, fordi denne filmen legges ut, så har jeg ikke navnene deres her oppe, men de finner dere inni OneNoten deres. Les nøye her. Når jeg går gjennom nå, så er det jo greit å huske på at det er at jeg leser litt underveis, så det er kanskje ikke manus på dette her, så det blir litt som en vanlig time. Ok. Da, hvis dere ikke har lest det som står på «les dette nøye», så pauser dere videoen litt og leser det. Okay, shifting to English. Your goal for this lesson is to explore the function of verbs within a sentence and understand basic patterns of agreement. As you see in the blue square up here, you'll find the goal for the lesson. Moving on. How do you know what verbs do and which one to use where? You're probably familiar with the idea that a verb is an action or doing word. You should be familiar with that by now. A verb is far more than that, however. It is the driving force in any sentence you read, write, or say. So it's basically the most important word. It represents not only movements and actions, but states of being and communicates when these things are happening. They tell us when something's happening because we conjugate them, like put them in the past or the present tense or things like that. Verbs are also not necessarily single words. This is important. Verb phrases sort of things. So, look at the highlighted words and phrases in the extract below. This text right here. All of them are verbs. Looking at these, what verbs do we have? Which things seem to be happening now in the present? And what happens when verbs are made up of more than one word? Now, this is something I want you to just think about, study and think about now, and we will talk about this when we get back in class. Moving on. So verbs help us to understand the time in which things happen. And this is called the tense of the verb, verbtid. So tense of the verb is something you really need to know what it means. You have to know how to say verbtid in English. So the tense of the verb. Should know this by now. Verbs can tell us about things happening in the present. Texts which contains the present tense often have an immediate here and now feeling about them, as though you're witnessing what is happening. What we're going to do now, if you're looking here, by the way, this is a check your progress. So what we're going to do at the end of this topic is that you cross out what you think you now have control over. So you'll find there's a PowerPoint up here. Just for the sake of it being easier, I have a printout here too. So I'm going to switch to this one and go through the PowerPoint like this, just because it's easier to go back and forth in the OneNote than it is to go back and forth from the PowerPoint. So, verbs and agreements. Verbs help us to understand the time in which things happen. Like I just said, verbs can tell us about things happening in the present. Texts which contain the present tense often have an immediate here and now feel about them, as though you're witnessing what is happening. Now, if at any time I use words you don't understand in the PowerPoint, the point of that is for you to look up those words. Okay, so pause the video, look up the verb. All right, read this extract from The Generation Game. Here, Sophie Duffy describes a memory of school. She is writing in the present tense. You can also find this extract in your OneNote. You'll find it in the task page, and I will show you in a minute. This is an extract from a book. I'm going to read it to you. School is more bearable now I have Lucas for a friend. He might only be small and thin, but he has a voice that even Pitchfork must envy. A voice like a crow having a bad day. a voice you use sparingly for greater effect. Lucas and I soon settle into a shared routine that gets us through the 6-hour-long haul. We play together at break in our corner. We pick each other for teams and gym. I save a place for him on the carpet. He saves a place for me in the hall at lunchtime, where I give him my greens in exchange for potatoes. He's a boy of mystery. Now, because you're really smart, you understand that there's a typo in here. I forgot an X, but it says exchanged. Exchange. Okay, so tasks. Now I'm going to read through the tasks first. Make a list of the present tense verbs in the passage. All right, so pick out all the present tense verbs in this. Which ones are verbs and which are in the present tense, and you list them in the task page. Now the task page, you'll find here, task page for the PowerPoint. So here you see I put the extract in here. This is the text, and here is where you list the present tense verbs in the text. Okay, write them down. That's the first task. And then you discuss. This is where you call the people from your group. Like if you're not already going through this together, because you can do that as well. Like you can go through this together, but if not, this is when you call someone. So discuss. Thinking about the topic of the passage. Why do you think the writer chose to use the present tense? Why did she use that? Well, instead of just the past tense, which is normal? Why did she use such simple verbs to convey the actions of the school day? Hvorfor velger hun å skrive presens? Og hvorfor bruker hun så enkle verb? This is the topic of discussion. Then complete the table on your task page by placing the verbs from the passage in the past and the future tenses. Going back to the task page, we'll see what that means. This means that you have found a bunch of present tense verbs here. Du har verb i presens her. In this table, you're going to place those verbs, the ones you have up here, in here. And you're going to conjugate them. Put them in different tenses. Like an example, we play, we played, we will play. So you're going to put them in past tense and future tense. So if you found play up here, this is putting it in the past tense and this is putting it in the future tense. Okay, fill it out here. If you need more squares, just add them. Right, so this is when you pause the video and work on these tasks. Okay, going back to the video, going back to the PowerPoint, let's have a look at the next topic. So other tenses, however, are not so simple. You're going to fill this in on your task page as well. So you see we have two tables here, to be and to have. Like I am, I will be, you already see I've put in some here. Let's go to the task page and find it. Moving on here, you find fill in the tables. You're going to put in the forms of this verb that are missing. Follow the examples like I am. What would you put up here? Maybe I would put I was, right? You are, you were, you will be. All right? So you continue doing that. The right forms of the verb. Fill in. Pause the video and work on this task. Moving on. Key terms, auxiliaries. Okay, this is a kind of a tough word. Auxiliaries. Can you say that with me? Auxiliaries. The verbs to be and to have can be used to assist other words to make verb phrases and communicate actions, states of being, and time much more specifically. Remember we worked with noun phrases? Now we have verb phrases. This is where there are more than one word that make up the verb in the sentence. Det er mer enn ett ord som på en måte er verb i setningen. Hvis det er mer enn ett ord sammen, sånn som du ser nå videre, så er det fremdeles verb i setningen, selv om det er flere ord. Okay, let's go. Both to be and to have help us form special past tenses, acting as auxiliaries. They're kind of, these are the forms that help us, right? So the verb to have modifies or changes the main verb when we want to indicate that something has ended, but only recently. Okay, so phew, I found my keys. It also modifies, changes the main verb when something in the past has been going on for a long period of time. Like, she has taken flowers to the grave every week since he died. On the task page, you are now going to write 5 sentences. You're going to be using the verb to have as an auxiliary. Let's go to the task page. Okay, here's a room for you guys to use to have as an auxiliary. I want you to use different tenses. Like, don't use have all the way through your 5 sentences. Use have, has, different sort of forms from it, right? And use I, you, she, we, you, they. Vary it, like it says in the PowerPoint here. Use all of these, like I have, you have, she has, we have, they have. You can also use the past tense. So you make up sentences, and all of the sentences, the 5 sentences, need to have in it. Okay? Pause the film. Work on the task. Oops, what happened now? Oh, there we go. All right, moving on. To be. So, the verb to be, it can indicate that something was continuing to happen in the past. Ok, så ofte så det sånn, vi holdt på med dette her, vi hadde ikke avsluttet den da. Vi er i prosess av å gjøre noe. So if you look at the example sentences, we notice the meaning, like, I was traveling on a stretch of lonely road when. Her det noe som ikke ferdig. Like, this is still going on. This is a process. It's continuing to happen, and then it's interrupted by something else. This is when we use the ing form. Do you see that? So we were marching onwards into the night with no idea where we're heading. This is going on. This is still continuing. So now, just write 5 sentences using the verb to be as an auxiliary. Right? So use I was, you were, she was, she, he was, we were, they were. So 1 sentence for each of these. And this is, again, on your task page. In this table here. Now you can work on these sentences together. This is kind of the point, right? Work together if you want to, right? Oh, I just noticed that there's a bit of yeah. Okay, going back to the PowerPoint. After you've done with this. Right. So the thing to remember is to always match the correct form of the verb to your subject or pronoun. I, you, he, she. Like, we was marching. Why is that not right? Why can't we say that? Incorrect. We was marching. Stop the video and explain to each other why this is incorrect. This you will find on the task page. It says rewrite, which means skriv det om igjen. This extract, which is also from the same book, The Generation Game, but this time you change the present tense to past tense. All right. So as you can see, I have marked out in green, I marked in green the present tense verbs, right? You're going to change them to past tense. So like here, we like to wander the local street. You would write, we liked to wander the local street. Even here, sometimes Lucas and I were given, I forgot to mark this, were given complete and utter freedom. We have to go back to the task page and have a look. Let's have a look here. I'm going to mark this as well, just to kind of make it clear for you guys that I forgot this. Sometimes it's a little difficult to get everything working. All right, so all of these, rewrite it, but this time change the present tense to past. So as you can see, I've given you a start. Like sometimes Lucas and I were given complete and utter freedom that would never be contemplated these days. 4 or 6 rules without serious concern. And you continue writing. So continue from here, changing all the present tense verbs to past tense verbs. Now you will have noticed that this is the last part of this topic. Yeah. So you have a few tasks here. You have some basically verb tense tasks. So I'm hoping you can get through this during the space of this lesson. At least we're going to do it this week. So work really well on this at home, because when we get to school tomorrow, you're going to have some actual like speaking tasks and activities and stuff. So we're not going to spend all the time catching up. So I'm going to depend on you guys to do this. And you need to also do this on this task page. Okay? I am available on Teams. I probably won't be able to answer right away because I'll be teaching at the same time. But ask me if you guys cannot figure it out together. All right, then I'll see you in school.